What was my life like before I knew Christ? I was basically a quiet child. Never got into trouble, never gave any trouble to my parents and stuff. Very well behaved. But I obviously would do things that were wrong that I would get punished for, but not anything really in a bad way. I didn't hang out with gangs or anything like that, so I don't have like a violent past, being brought from hanging with gangs and shooting people and that kind of stuff. But although that was not the way it was, I still was not what God wanted me to be. My life still had things where I was like shy and withdrawn and not as open as I am now. And that in itself is also a bad thing. Because a person who's withdrawn like that, they don't express their feelings, they don't say what's on their mind, and that could be a very wrong thing. Because I was like that. I used to keep things inside of me. I would hold on to things, and therefore it would build up, and not that I would get angry and explode, but it meant that I carried a lot of pain inside of me, a lot of hurts inside of me. And that's what it was like before I knew Christ. It was totally different to how it is now. How did I come to know Christ? I gave my life to God when I was approximately 14 years old. One of my friends at school introduced me to Christ, and I accepted him. But the thing is, there was no follow-up. There was no coming behind me to see how I would grow and how I would process. So I just went back to being myself because I didn't know any better. I didn't have anyone to guide me. But when I was about 21 years old and I was working, this guy, he was a Barbadian, but he lived overseas for a while in the States, United States. And he came back to Barbados and he was working with me. And he had this joy about him. And he would make sport, he would enjoy himself. And I said, something, this guy looks different to all the other Christians that I knew before. Because the Christians I was accustomed to, they were all square and all stiff, no enjoyment. But I saw something in him that was different. And not just that he enjoyed himself, but he also was serious about God. He would talk to us about God. He would tell us things about God. So I saw that side as well, and I realized that he was a very balanced person. And I looked at him and I said, something, this guy has something that I want. But the thing that really turned my heart was that one day he said to me, come, I'm taking you to lunch. And it was not that he said, I'm taking you to lunch because I want something from you, or I'm taking you to lunch because you have to buy lunch for me the next day. It was just, I'm taking you to lunch, and that was the end of the story. And that touched me because I was accustomed to people doing things for you if they want something back from you. But here was a guy just giving me lunch just like that, just out of the goodness and the love in his heart. And that touched me, and that's what caused me to turn my life around and come back to God. Because I was saved when I was 14, as I said before, but this is what pulled me back into being with God and into connect. How is my life different? Well, as I said before, I was basically quiet and withdrawn and that kind of thing. But I found that since I've come to know Christ, I've become more open. It's easier for me now to share and to say what's on my mind and to tell people how I feel without it being a problem. Because whereas before I would have kept all of that in, now I'm able to share it out. I've also become braver in that I'm now able to speak to people at a different level now. I can meet a stranger and talk to them without it being a problem. I can meet a person and share God with them without it being a problem because I'm no longer shy, I'm no longer scared to do it. I have found a new boldness and a new braveness in being able to go out and speak to people. What are my hopes for the future? As I mentioned just now, one of the things I do is I encourage people to become more of what God wants them to be. And I see myself in the future not working in a secular job anymore because right now I'm self-employed. But I see myself working full-time for God, especially in the area of missions, going overseas and teaching and teaching on worship and teaching people how to know God more. So my hope for the future is that God will give me the strength to continue to teach, to continue to encourage and groom young men. Because that's something that was spoken over my life as well, that there will be a lot of young men coming into my life that I'll be able to speak into their lives, I'll be able to help them. And that's part of the thing for my future, my hope for the future, that I'll be able to continue to do that through the grace of God. If there's anything else I want to add, it is just that I also see young people as the future. So I would like to invest not just time, but also resources into training young people, like sending them away to schools to learn how to play music or to learn to do something else. because I believe that God has blessed me with a business to be able to provide that kind of way. So that's one of the things that I would say I would like to see as well, where young people become well trained and well groomed into doing things with the Lord properly. So as far as I'm concerned, my time and my money, I would like to invest into something like that so that young people can be developed, because they are our future.